Hi, I'm Derek Fredrickson. Welcome to the COO Solution Podcast, the show for business owners and visionary leaders who want to scale with clarity, confidence, and the right support. For over 16 years, I've been in the trenches as a fractional COO, Chief Operating Officer, helping entrepreneurs align their teams, streamline operations, and remove bottlenecks that slow growth. I understand the challenges, feeling overwhelmed, stretched too thin, or uncertain about how to scale without burning out. I've helped business owners move from chaos to clarity, creating businesses that run smoothly and grow and scale. Each week, I'll bring you real-world insights, proven strategies, and practical solutions to help you step into your highest role as a leader. Whether it's optimizing your team, strengthening accountability, or building the right systems for growth, this podcast is here to support you in scaling smarter. So if you're ready to create a business that thrives without requiring more of you, let's get started. Have you ever felt like your team is working hard, but somehow nothing seems aligned? Tasks get done, deadlines are met, but somehow the bigger picture still feels off? This is a common challenge for founders and entrepreneurs as they scale their businesses. You might even feel frustrated that despite all the effort, progress isn't matching your vision. And that's what we're unpacking today. Welcome back to the COO Solution Podcast. I'm your host, Derek Fredrickson. And today's episode is about team alignment, one of the most overlooked yet critical elements in scaling a business. And so today, in this episode, we'll explore, number one, why team alignment is the key to efficiency, accountability, and scalable growth. Number two, how a COO or a second in command or an integrator can bridge the gap between your vision and your team's execution, actionable steps to evaluate, clarify, and realign your team so everyone is rowing in the same direction. So if you're listening to this and ever wondered why your team isn't hitting its potential or why things feel chaotic, even with talented people, this episode is for you. Alignment with your team isn't just a buzzword. It's not just a catchphrase. It's the foundation for every high-performing company. You can have an amazing team, incredible products and services and programs or groundbreaking ideas, but without alignment within your team, results will never match your vision. And here's why team alignment is so crucial. Efficiency, number one. Teams that understand the big picture don't waste time on misdirected efforts. They get the goal of where you're going. Number two is clarity. Everyone knows their role and their responsibilities and how it contributes to the overall vision of the business. Accountability. When expectations are clear, the team takes ownership. They take responsibility of what they are in charge of doing. And lastly, scale. Without alignment, your business can't scale effectively or efficiently, and gaps appear, bottlenecks form, and progress slows down. So here's the reality check around why alignment is crucial. Even great teams often fail to reach their potential because roles aren't defined, responsibilities overlap, or priorities are unclear. That's why alignment needs to be intentional, consistent, and measured. So let's get into what I've discovered are the 5 really main pillars, if you will, and core ideas around this topic of how to align your team with your vision and mission. All right, so let's start with number 1, which is the basics, right? What does team alignment really mean? Well, the alignment is when every team member understands the business vision, their role in executing that vision, and how their work contributes to the overall goals. But there are signs of misalignment. For example, confusion about responsibilities or priorities, right? Who's doing this and who's doing that? And is this something that I'm supposed to be doing? Is this something that somebody else is supposed to be doing, right? There's that confusion and complexity, and you can't scale confusion or complexity. There's also frequent rework or missed deadlines, right? For example, we're doing the same thing over and over again as opposed to having a more systematic, automated approach, or we're doing things and they're tasks are falling through the cracks. We're missing opportunities. Deadlines are getting avoided and projects get delayed. Lastly, employees are working hard, but they're missing critical business objectives, right? This is not about working harder. It's about working smarter. And so your team members might be working hard, but is it really moving the needle? Is it really actually producing the result and getting you the objective accomplished to meet your goal? And the impact of misalignment within your team is that it leads to these inefficiencies, this frustration, and slowed growth. Your talented people can only perform if the team structure supports your business vision, right? And so if there is a feeling amongst you as the entrepreneur or your team members that there are these inefficiencies and frustrations and slow growth, and we feel like we're working really hard, but we're not really getting where we want to be going, that is the impact of misalignment, okay? So that's point number one, which is what does team alignment really mean? Number two is the role of the COO, Chief Operating Officer, or second in command, or an integrator in driving and owning that alignment. And the component of the COO driving alignment is that they are the bridge from vision to execution. This is where a fractional COO comes in. They translate the founder's vision into actionable steps. They ensure that strategy and operations are connected, that everyone knows what success looks like, and that resources are allocated effectively. This is critical for entrepreneurs to understand that the bridge from vision to execution is not just with the entrepreneur and not just with individual team members. There is what I call the gap in between from vision to execution, and you need a bridge to address the gap. You need the glue to hold that together to make the vision happen into reality, and that's what the role of a COO does. And there are some key responsibilities for the right COO to ensure that there is team alignment, right? Create clarity around priorities and goals so team members know what they're doing and where they're going. Defining the responsibilities that are associated with those roles so team members know this is what I'm responsible for. This is part of my role. This is what I need to be doing every day or every week or every month. They also need to be building and managing accountability systems, right? Checking in with team members to ensure that they're feeling satisfied with the work that they're doing, that they're feeling confident, clear, capable in what they're doing, and ensuring that they're doing it well so that they can be working at a higher level and do things more efficiently and more effectively. And lastly, the role of the COO is to identify bottlenecks and gaps in execution. They are that air traffic controller. They are looking at what's working and what's not working. And if there are bottlenecks or things that are getting in the way, it's their role to address and remove that bottleneck so we can have a fluid system of execution to the vision. So for example, here at the COO Solution, when we work with a business as a fractional COO, one of the first things we do is map out who owns what. We kind of take a look at the scope of the team and really get very, very clear. What are the people that you have on the team? What are their roles? What are their responsibilities? And start asking questions, right? This is not about judgment. This is not about pointing fingers and asking, why are you doing this? And why are you doing that? It's not about that. That's not our style. But we really kind of take a look at, do we have the right people that are in the right seats and that everyone understands how their work contributes to the bigger picture. And that's when alignment really starts to happen, right? And that goes from the top all the way to the bottom and all the way in between. So when team members, whether they're a bookkeeper, they're a webmaster, your salesperson, the person that does social media, customer service, your copywriter, whatever it is, it's one thing that they know what they're doing and how to do it, but do they understand how their work contributes to the bigger picture? That's where team alignment and mapping your vision and your mission with your team really starts to take shape, because when they can see where you're going and how their part is contributing to how we're going to get there, that's when the magic really happens. Okay, so that's point number 2, which is the role of the COO in driving alignment. Let's move on to number 3, which is assessing your current team alignment. So there are some key questions that we want to be asking, and this is part of what we do, again, when we work with clients at the COO Solution, to really understand, do we have team alignment in place? You know, is it strong? Is it positive? Or is it weak and kind of bringing the team down? All right, so there's a couple of key questions that you can ask. Number 1, does everyone know the company's vision and mission, right? This is really critical. Do you have a vision for the business? Do you have a mission, right? That could be core values or what you stand for, or what you believe, or, you know, where do you think you're going in 1 year's time, in 3 years' time, maybe in 10 years' time? Like, what's the real big picture of what your company is doing? But also, more importantly, why? Why are you doing this? This is not just to make money, but it's also, what's the bigger impact? What's the mission? And does everybody on the team know that? And are they aware of that? And are reminded of that on a consistent basis? The second key question is, are roles clearly defined and understood, right? Roles might be clearly defined, but they may not be fully understood. And they might understand what their role is, but that's not necessarily in alignment with what you think the role is defined as, right? So there's this synergy, there's this connection between the two, that roles are defined and they're also clearly understood. The third question is, are priorities and outcomes communicated consistently, right? These are the objectives. These are the projects. This is the result. This is the goal that we're looking at. One of the things that we do with our clients at the COO Solution is we identify in the first 90 days 5 high-level objectives that we want to accomplish in the work that we do with the client, right? I always say that these are realistic, but a bit of a stretch and above and beyond what you're already doing in the day-to-day, right? Because we don't work with clients that just want to maintain the status quo. They're looking to scale, they're looking to grow, they're looking to get to the next big level. And so we identify 5 high-level objectives. And within each one of those objectives, we clearly articulate, this is the goal, this is the result, and this is the timeline, right? So the goal is what we want to accomplish. The result is what are we going to achieve, whether it's financial impact or more clients or better system or whatever it might be. And the timeline, right? The first 30 days or the first 2 months, whatever that might be. So goal, result, timeline. And that's our framework, right? But think of it as alignment is in 3 buckets, right? It's vision, roles, accountability. And with your team, ask yourself, are all 3 connected? If one is missing, your team isn't fully aligned, right? You may have the vision and your team feels like they're accountable to what they're doing, but maybe they're not clear on their role, right? Or they are clear on their role and they have a good sense of holding themselves accountable, but they don't know where they're going, right? They don't really know what the vision is. And so the last one is they know the vision and they know the role, but nobody's holding them accountable. And so we don't have the clarity if they're working in a efficient and effective way. So you need all 3. Vision, roles, and accountability. And there are some challenges when you're assessing your current team alignment. There are some common challenges that we have uncovered that I want to share with you. Number 1 is there are overlapping responsibilities are confusing. Again, if people aren't clear and they're kind of sharing responsibilities like I do this, but I also do that, and that person does the same thing, and it's like we're being redundant, like we're stepping on each other's toes. And this is where I often say sometimes the little things get in the way of the big things, right? And so these overlapping responsibilities are confusing and they can lead to bottlenecks. Number 2, common challenge, top performers are doing tasks that others can handle. You may have some members of your leadership team or senior members of your team that maybe own a particular function. Maybe they own operations or they own finance, but they're doing tasks that others could handle. So for example, in the finance function, you may have a controller or maybe you have like a fractional CFO who's still doing the books and records, right? They're still in QuickBooks. They're still doing the bookkeeping. That's probably not the best use of their time, right? You've heard me share this before in this podcast that this is always looking at across the organization, not just for the entrepreneur, but for team members. If they're doing things that others could be doing, or they could delegate or automate or outsource or streamline, that's going to level up their responsibility and level up their availability to focus on bigger picture initiatives, bigger picture ideas. Like let the fractional CFO be in the senior leadership seat in finance. They don't need to be bogged down in the details of the day-to-day of the bookkeeping. You need somebody to do that, but that can be a bookkeeper. And the third common challenge is that teams are chasing tactical work without understanding strategic priorities, right? They're kind of whack-a-moling things. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I'm working on this over here. I'm doing that task over here. But do they really have a cohesive understanding about how all of that work comes together in achieving like the big picture strategy? Or are they just kind of going through the motions and just getting stuff done and then just going on to the next day and doing it all over again? They need to be aligned with the strategic priority, with the plan. This is why we identify those objectives when we work with the client, so everybody knows where we're going. We're all rowing in the same boat and going in the same direction. Okay, so that's number 3, which is assessing your current team alignment. Moving on to number 4 is let's talk about some of the steps to align your team. And so we have identified 4 steps that help aligning your team, whether they're not aligned at all or there's room for improvement. Okay, step number 1, clarify the vision and mission, right? So this is your job as the entrepreneur with the help of a fractional COO, but hold a team meeting or a workshop or some sort of get together to review your mission and your vision. Share your vision. Make sure every team member understands the why behind the work. Now, before you share that, you need to get really clear on what is your vision and what is your mission. So first, develop the vision and mission before you share that. Now, you can share that openly with the team and offer an opportunity for feedback or questions, and that's great to get their reflection and input. But the idea is that first establish the vision and mission, then share it, and the team member understands the why behind the work. Okay, so that's step number 1. Step number 2, define roles clearly. Audit every role in the business. What are their responsibilities? Where do they overlap with others? What are the key deliverables? This is one of the first things that we do when we work with the client, because oftentimes in our COO work with the client, roles are not clearly defined. Team members are uncertain about where they belong and what they're doing, and they don't really know what their responsibilities are. They may have an idea, but that might be a different idea than what you have as the idea of what their responsibilities are. So we need to define their role and their responsibilities. That's something that a fractional COO can do. You don't have to do that. Their job is to understand and to ask the questions. What are your responsibilities? What are you accountable for? What do you do on a day-to-day basis? What do you own? And again, this is not about pointing fingers or judging. It's getting clarity. And with clarity, we can then have the understanding about, great, your role is clearly defined. You understand your responsibilities. You know what's expected of you. And team members want that. They want that clarity so that they get the confidence to go out and do really good work. Okay. Step number 3, establish accountability systems. Implement clear metrics and KPIs. You can create dashboards. Your fractional COO can create dashboards or weekly check-ins to track progress. Alignment without accountability, it won't stick. It won't last. And so when we put things on paper and create accountability structures, for example, in marketing, right? The marketing manager is accountable for how many leads we generate on a week-to-week basis. And that's tracked in a dashboard, in a scorecard with KPIs. And if we're off track with the number of leads that are being generated, we need to ask the question, why are we off track? What are we doing to get on track? How are you going to take ownership of that? Numbers don't lie. And so when you create accountability systems based on metrics and KPIs, everybody knows that they're tied to an objective and a result that is very quantifiable. Okay, so they can really see it and understand it. And then step number 4 is regularly review and adjust. This is not team alignment nirvana. You've done it once and it's never needed to be done again, right? You're constantly evolving and shaping your team. Team members come and go, they leave, they join, they move in different directions. And so there's always an opportunity to realign your team or review and adjust if needed. And the reason is simple. Alignment is dynamic. It's never stagnant. So you need to revisit roles, responsibilities, and priorities as your business grows to ensure your team continues to operate cohesively. It's revisiting these accountability systems, revisiting these dashboards, revisiting the roles and making sure that they're clear. Maybe they were clear 6 months ago, but they're not clear anymore because their responsibilities have changed. Maybe your vision and mission was established last year, but it's evolved. You've evolved. And so you need to continue to cascade that to your team so they understand the vision and the mission at the top, their role and what is required of them to help achieve that vision and mission, accountability systems that go in place to hold them accountable, and continually review and adjust. So that's number 4. Steps to align your team. Lastly, number 5, building a culture of alignment. This is probably the most important because, again, alignment is not something that you do and then you're done and you never do it. It's something that you want to instill as a value. It's part of this is how we do things around here in the culture of your company. And you could do this in 3 ways. Number 1, communication. Encourage open feedback and transparent communication. Your team should always feel comfortable sharing progress and challenges. Things that are left unspoken usually tend to kind of manifest themselves into these bottlenecks, into these challenges, into these complexities that end up becoming big boulders that you need to overcome. Let's identify the pebbles when they're in the early stages, and that is created by offering an opportunity for team members to provide feedback and have an open, vulnerable, transparent communication. What's working? What's not working? Are you unclear? If so, how can we get more clear? Okay, so just have open communication. Number 2, empowerment. Empower your team to make decisions with their roles. This reduces bottlenecks and allows you to focus on higher level strategy. Okay, so you can empower your team to take ownership even more, evolve and up-level what they're accountable for, empower them to make decisions with the right understanding of what to do and how to do it. And I always say, empower them to make decisions, but at the end of the day, if they're not perfectly clear on the best decision to make, then the point of no decision is better than making a decision. And it's fine for team members to say, I'm unclear, I'm uncertain. Can you clarify this for me, right? So we want to empower them to make decisions, but also offer the opportunity that they're not 100% clear. Don't make the wrong decision. Always speak up and ask for guidance or support or clarity, okay? It's okay to ask for help. Number 3 is recognition. Acknowledge and celebrate when team alignment leads to results. This reinforces the behavior and the culture that you want to sustain. So if you feel like people are really understanding your vision and your mission and they're aligning with the roles and things are just running like clockwork and they're getting results that are tied to the objectives and it's giving you more motivation, celebrate that. Acknowledge that. That's a real positive element in team culture to make everybody feel, like I said, they're rowing not only in the same boat, but they're rowing in the same direction. Okay, so those are the 5 elements of aligning your team with your vision and mission with the involvement and support of a fractional COO. Number one, what team alignment really means. Number two, the role of the COO in driving alignment. Number three, assessing your current team alignment. Number four, steps to align your team. And lastly, number five, building a culture of alignment. Okay, so here's your action step for today. I hope you enjoyed those 5 pillars of aligning your team with your vision and mission. So here's your action step for today. Here's a takeaway. You can, with the help of a fractional COO, begin to identify and map out your team's roles and responsibilities, and maybe identify at least one area of misalignment that is slowing execution, right? When you start to put things on paper and document roles and responsibilities, it will become clear to you where there is some misalignment. Again, a team member may think they're doing something in one area when you're expecting them to actually focus on something else. And so that is misalignment, right? They're going in one direction when you expect them to be going in another. And then from that, you can create I call it a clarity document or some sort of meeting agenda to communicate roles, priorities, and expectations to the team by the end of this week, right? So you could start to get some momentum and some progress by first identifying where that alignment may be out of whack, right? Where that misalignment may be in place, and have the conversation that goes back to open, transparent, and communication, and discuss that with the team members so they really get understanding that we need to get more aligned on your role and what you're doing. Remember, alignment isn't a one-time activity. It's a continuous process that ensures your team can execute on your vision efficiently while you focus on growth and strategy. I hope you enjoyed today's episode on aligning your team with your vision and mission. It's something that we work on and do continuously here at the COO Solution, not only within our own organization, but with all of our clients that we work with where we provide fractional COO services. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And listen, if you really enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to share it with another business owner, founder, CEO, entrepreneur that you think could get some value from this. And listen, you may be wondering, could I use the benefit and support and structure and strategy and guidance of a fractional COO? Let's find out. You can take our free quiz, which is at thecoosolution.com, and you'll get a personalized report to understand where you are currently in your business, what's working, what's not working, and if a fractional COO can provide the structure, the guidance, and the support to have your vision become reality, right? To have the fractional COO be the glue between your vision and execution. So thanks for tuning into this episode of the COO Solution Podcast. I would love to hear from you if you have any comments or feedback. And in the next episode, we'll continue to tackle more topics around delegation and freeing yourself from the day-to-day and getting out of the operational overwhelm in your business so you could focus on the big vision and the big idea. Looking forward to seeing you on the next episode, and thanks for tuning in. And that's a wrap on this episode of the COO Solution Podcast. If you found today's conversation valuable, I'd love it if you could subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to get control of their business and scale it with a second in command that they trust to handle all the daily tasks and operations they don't enjoy. And hey, maybe you're wondering if now is the time to bring on a trusted fractional COO or Chief Operating Officer to help your thriving business scale with clarity and confidence. If you're tired of doing it alone, visit thecoosolution.com and take our free quiz to help determine if now is the right time to bring a fractional COO to help you scale. In just 25 questions, you'll get a personalized report that helps you decide if your business is ready for the game-changing support of a part-time fractional COO. Let's find out together if it's your next step. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, let's roll up our sleeves and get to work.